you a question. What makes humans human? The thing is, we are all human, but we are different. Our actions can be good and bad, like wars, protests, and all that. But I'll talk about one of man's biggest mistakes, racism. It is an endless war. Welcome to the modern day. I know that there are different types of racism, but today I'll be talking about Black racism. I was watching the news a few months ago. I saw things, terrible things. My mother said it was a protest to stop racism. I asked, what is racism? She looked at me and said, sit down. She told me about segregation, she told me about discrimination. As all the information came to me, my answer was, that's not right. Based on what I saw, I chose this topic as my PYPX focus. But first, I'm going to talk about something that makes me worry. Recently, there was this innocent and old person who was walking the street in the daytime. The attack happened just before noon in Hell's Kitchen's neighborhood. Police said the victim was walking along the West Street. The woman was headed to church. Then when the attacker came out of nowhere and yelled and harassed that she didn't belong, and then began assaulting her, the man kicked her in the stomach, knocking her to the sidewalk, and then brutally stomped on her head again and again. I'm Asian. The attacker is racist, and I'm furious. This did not just happen in America, it's all around the world. Only now there's more. Since the pandemic started, people didn't like that COVID-19 came from China. But it got worse once word spread about so-called China virus. Only now we are seeing the bigger picture. In Spain, during the worldwide pandemic, in the lockdown, people had to get necessities from the shop. The police were supposed to make sure everybody followed the rules of the lockdown. But some policemen used racial ethnic profiling to stop, question, and arrest people when shopping for essentials. There's one thing everybody talks about. The Black Lives Matter protest is recently there was this man, George Floyd, who was caught by a policeman. He struggled to get cuffs on him because he kept on moving, so the policeman put his knee on his neck. George yelled and pleaded things like, let me go, I can't breathe, and tell my children I love them. But the policeman ignored him and killed him. He couldn't breathe for approximately 9 minutes. Could that have ended differently? The policeman's in court, punished. He is guilty and will be sent to prison. The jury was tangled and under pressure whether to punish him or not. Some people wanted justice while some defended the policeman's action. They chose that he's guilty. Unfortunately, somebody died. Let me teach you a bit of history. Time to go back to the Wild West. The KKK, otherwise known as the Ku Klux Klan. They are a hate group that kills African Americans. They started in 1865, but before that they were slave patrols that made sure and controlled the slaves that they stayed on the plantation. In the 1870s, the KKK disbanded. In 1915, the reform good as new. At its peak in 1920, they had 4 million members nationwide. They murdered people in their homes and they terrorized. They ended with a law being held so no more KKK activities were legal. Unfortunately, they are still around and very much alive. But luckily, they are in hiding. They look like giant goats with pointy heads and crooked eyes, but they were worse. This is a tragedy that happened less than 30 years ago in my home country, South Africa. Well, just a sign, but the history behind the sign. Apartheid. It is segregation that started in South Africa in 1948. Now, do any of you know what segregation is? Well, probably not. It means separate in a fancy way. There are different schools, beaches, restaurants, universities, colleges, or neighborhoods for non-locals, black people, white people, and colored. And if a black person has fairly white skin, they can become a white. In other words, mean they have better opportunities, jobs, houses, and education. There are different neighborhoods, and if you change your passport to be classified as white, you can never see your family again. If the other people in the street find out you're black, then you can get in trouble. The black people were poor. They lived in little tin shacks, and in the modern day, there are still little tin shacks where black people live since apartheid. They can be found everywhere, even in the middle of the city. Apartheid not completely gone, but some people are still racist, and that can be changed easily. And even if racism still exists in South Africa, at least it's not as severe as it used to be. People lived like that until 1994. So who saved the great nation? Nelson Mandela. He was born in the royal family of a tribe called Madiba. That's why South African people call him Madiba. While studying in Johannesburg, Nelson Mandela joined a protest group who was fighting against the apartheid regime. He became their leader. They made peaceful protests at first, but then it became an armed protest because the policemen started shooting their guns at the protesters. Once the policemen caught them, Nelson Mandela took the blame. He was sentenced to jail and spent 27 years there. But the nation disagreed. He made a speech which touched people's hearts. The people demanded him to be released, and after a while protesting, the government let him out. When the government let him out, the world adored him. The nation elected him as the first democratic black president of South Africa in 1994. He helped stop apartheid and save the nation. He died on December 5, 2013 from old age. To end, I'm going back to the beginning. What makes humans human? We are all human and we can be good and bad, but we can change. To help fight against racism, speak up, let your voice be heard. Watch the news, read articles, and listen to the present day. And once you know, take action. You can do Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok, and other social media apps and tell others about this problem. Tell your friends and family, and don't forget how this world can change. We all matter. I'd like to end my talk on Nelson Mandela's famous speech from the dock just before he got sentenced to jail. I have fought against white domination. I have fought against black domination. I have cherished the ideal of a democratic and free society in which all persons live together in harmony and with equal opportunities. It is an ideal for which to live for and to achieve, but if it needs to be, it's an ideal for which I'm prepared to die. Thank you.